Hello everyone, thanks for coming outside with me today. Today I would like to look at 5 things that I often see archers do incorrectly, or at least they have room for improvement. So these are 5 things that maybe you at home are struggling with. I know that I have in the past, but once I definitely made the adjustments and changed them and made them better, I saw improvements in my accuracy and in my scores on the range in tournaments and in the field for hunting. One of the first problems I always see is people trying to find an anchor or not having an anchor altogether. This is super common with people that are buying their first bow, trying out archery for the first time, and they just want to pull the string back and watch the mystical flight of the arrow. So it doesn't matter whether you anchor behind your ear, on your jawbone, tip of your nose to the string, whatever the case may be, anchor where you feel comfortable and anchor wherever makes you happy, whether you're shooting a recurve or a compound bow. In my opinion, you can't have too many anchors. Think of it like tripods, monopods, and bipods. Monopods are stable, right? But not as stable as a bipod, which isn't as stable as a tripod. More legs, more places to anchor. The same thing is true with archery. The more places you have to anchor on your face, on your neck, on your cheek, whatever, is more consistent spots you can put your hand, put the string, and so forth, and ultimately makes you a more consistent and accurate archer. The second biggest issue I see is not having relaxed hands, both your bow hand and your release hand. Probably the biggest issue I see is people fighting the bow itself, and they're gripping the bow, they're torquing the bow, and you really don't have to do that. You should be able to shoot a bow with a relaxed hand, no matter what kind of bow you're shooting. Secondly, your release hand has to be relaxed. If you hold your hand out in front of you, you'll notice that the fingers don't sit straight out. They actually curl and you make a slight half fist. The same thing should be true of your release hand, and particularly if you're shooting a very common trigger style, index style release system. Your fingers should be relaxed on not only the bow's riser, but also in your release hand, and working either the thumb trigger or a hinge or an index finger release should be a slow, steady squeeze, pull, whatever it is. Gripping the bow is just going to cause torque and a lot of left-right misses. Gripping the release is just going to cause a lot of finger fatigue, and also leads into the third problem of punching the trigger. Punching the trigger and punching the release is just like squeezing the trigger quickly on a shotgun when you're trying to track a clay bird through the air. You're wanting it to fire and fire now. The only thing that's going to lead to is a massive case of target panic, which can be very hard to cure. So don't start that. Start with a very short release arm. Get it way into the crook of your finger, as far in as you can comfortably have it. That's really going to keep it in tight in my hand and really allow me to have a clean, crisp shot. I'm not reaching for the trigger, I'm not punching the trigger, and I'm not causing undue stress on my hands or torquing the bow. A fourth problem I see actually has nothing to do with the archer, and rather has to do with the arrows that they're shooting. I often see people get a bow, they buy their buddy's bow, they get a bow handed down to them, and then they just shoot the arrows that came with the bow, or they just shoot arrows they found at a local garage sale or something like that. And they just shoot arrows that are not spined, cut, or anything specifically tuned to their bow and their setup and their needs. If you try to shoot an arrow that's way underspined or way overspined, you're going to have accuracy issues and tuning issues. So make sure when you go to buy your bow and you go to shoot your bow that you're shooting arrows that are correctly spined for your setup. And lastly, this is really focused more for a hunting standpoint, which is what I focus a lot of my archery on. It has to deal with not shooting real world in the field shots. So it's great to shoot here in the summer at 20, 30, 40, and 50 yards. That's all well and good. It's nice to put the pin right on the dot and squeeze it off and let it fly. But the problem is that I rarely have deer standing at 20, 30, 40, and 50 yards. Often it's 17 yards, 32 yards, and knowing where my bow is and knowing how my pins need to be set, how much arrow drop I have, how much gap I need to be shooting is really crucial for me as an archer in the field during the fall. I always hear people tell the stories, well, I ranged him at 30 and he was actually at 27 or 33. Those couple of yards make a huge difference, and it's really crucial for you to know what your bow and arrow does in those specific yardage distances. So that's all for this video. If you have any further questions, please hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, right here on YouTube. You can even send me an email. All those links are in the description below. Hope you're able to get outside, enjoy the sport of archery hunting if you so choose. Definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation, and we'll get to see you next time.